Okay, guys, and ladies and gentlemen, I have to say, so we're without Kees. I have to do the introduction, but we have been offline for quite a while. Normally, we pre-discuss a lot of our conversations or podcasts, but we didn't do that today. We're just gonna dive in head first here, Demian. A lot has happened in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah,
We have a
look
couple
like
of hot topics.
look like Case got lost in the US somewhere. I'm not
Yes.
sure if it was a good idea in the first place to let Case go there by himself. But anyway, he seems to be off the radar, and Florian is living the holiday life. It seems.
Yeah, he's going on vacation today. Actually spoke with him earlier today, and he was in the car, so he's driving to his destination.
Gotcha.
But these summer periods are always a little bit off. But we needed to talk, so I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
it's good that we
So,
meet and we can share some insights. We've been talking this morning in the car as well, Damian. We missed the, let's say, the get-togethers and talking a little bit about Tesla. So I think it's good that we meet again.
well, probably a good starting point to start a discussion with is like who is doing better, Florian and Case, who are on holiday, or us talking about Tesla. It seems like talking Tesla is more fun than spending your time on the beach, right? So
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%. Although I have to say, the pictures from Case do look good. So
yeah.
and unfortunately, I think he still didn't drive the Robotaxi. So he went to the US to travel a bit there and
Okay.
to try the Robotaxi, but I haven't seen him in one. So that's
Yeah. Well,
unfortunate.
before we dive into that, um, it's a sort of thing that is also where you are for the first-hand experience. You recently bought the new Model Y. You talked
Yeah.
about it a little bit on the previous podcast. But I've been reading through some comments today also on X about that new car.
Mhm.
And it really looked like the Tesla hit it out of the park with that new car. What is your experience so far?
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. So my dad
You're a
actually bought.
critic. I know you're quite a critic when it comes to cars. So
Yeah, and I've driven a lot of cars like the M3s, Ferraris, Porsches, which I do like quite a bit. They really have good handling. All of my friends, when they have a new car, I try to drive in it. So I've been driving in quite a few cars. And there's two brands that excite me the most, which is Tesla and Porsche, just from back in the days. But I have to say, it's really, really good. So I'm trying to sell it to a couple of people because my dad, he bought a GLC, which is a Mercedes, which is like also mid-size SUV. So I would say it's more premium than the Model Y. And I've been driving that car for a bit as well, just because I liked it. And when I ordered the car, the Model Y, I was like, yeah, I might be a little bit spoiled now driving this Mercedes GLC because it feels like it's premium, it's nice, it's higher on the road. And I did a very short trip with the Model Y a couple of months ago or 2 months ago. And then I knew I wanted the Model Y instead of the Model 3. So that was convincing for me. But then when I drove the GLC, I was like, all right, maybe I've made the wrong choice here because the GLC really drives really well. It's very premium. Mercedes just knows how to do it. Although I don't like the inside because it feels old fashioned. But now that I've driven the Model Y for more than a week, I'm so happy with it. It's really good. Like it's super quiet. Audio quality is really good. I took the most premium trim, so I took the long range all wheel drive, but it's really really good. So I'm super happy with it. I did had a flat tire on Saturday, but also that was handled quite well. So I got a message in the car saying like, hey, your pressure on the tire at the right front is going down. You should stop. I was already in the parking lot, so it made it easier. But like through the app, I could just say like it notified, hey, you have a flat tire. I could press it, and then it was sent to somebody at Tesla who said, hey, do you have troubles? Do you need roadside assistance? I said, yeah. And then they towed me for free to the nearest Tesla. So the Tesla service center, which was on a Saturday evening, so it was already closed. But yesterday they changed my tire in like an hour, and I could pick it up again. There was no service employee. I could just like go to the parking lot in front of the Tesla store, the service center and the store, and I could just pick it up. So it was really, really good and smooth. I paid via the app and like really, really good. So yeah, I'm super happy with it.
Yeah, it's a bit under the radar thing. It's the best selling car in the world, of course, and it looks like we got the delivery numbers coming in as well last week. And also those were, of course, not in the high numbers, but considering that whole manufacturing transition that has been taking place in Q1, where the whole lineup for the Model Y was being revamped. It looks like this car is now being introduced to sort of the larger public. And in terms of build quality and all the technology that is integrated in it, it looks like a very a superior car in the market, in, let's say, the premium segment.
Yeah, 100%.
I
Price
will be
quality.
very I will be very curious how sort of the cost of goods sold will develop, because in the last earnings call we saw this cost of goods sold coming down. And Tesla is, of course, anticipating to also introduce the more affordable models over the next coming months, and those will be sort of the probability that those are sort of miniature Model Ys or a more compact Model Ys is very significant. But I'm very curious how that cost of goods sold will also develop now. This manufacturing is a little bit more at scale. Because they learned a lot from the unboxing methods and production methods that they learned on the Cybercab. So this whole Model Y ramp is a sort of good precursor to see how the Cybercab will be launched. And the amazing thing is, of course, is that your Model Y is basically also a Robotaxi, right?
Robotaxi. Yeah.
So. It's an interesting time, because on the one hand, we see, of course, the market reacting to sort of the EV credits being taken away. That's a whole discussion on itself, if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And Elon stands in it together with his
Good thing.
former bestie Donald. But it's something that Tesla has been anticipating for a very long time. So it's no surprise that this EV cut can be taken, and now they have basically two sort of irons in the fire, as we say it in Dutch, like a good translation. And that's the affordable models coming online, but also the cost of goods sold of the Model Y simply improving. And that's number one, and second, of course, full self-driving / robotaxi, if the market wakes up to the value of that. If going to that delivery numbers, I'm very surprised, because we talked about it in one of our previous podcasts about also Cybertruck sales. And that's probably where I was wrong, because I thought, well, when we will lower the prices, the amount of sales will go up. But it surprises me that it stays so far behind.
Yeah.
So the number of pre-orders for the Cybertruck were through the roof. It's the car that got the biggest amount of attention. It's also the car that got amazing reviews. So people are really excited about the capabilities of the car. But somehow sales still stay really flat. So I'm very curious what the developments around the product is.
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with the product. It might be quite high in regards to price, because I think the average truck being sold in the US, which is the largest market for these kind of vehicles, is like 50 or 60K dollars. And this one is still 30% higher. So that's quite a lot. Then there's a couple of other things. So it hasn't launched yet in the EU, which also might get a lot of orders when it does. So that's also one. And I think it's a category of people who drive trucks, who still like 6, cylinder vehicles, or cylinder vehicles. It's like those people that might not be so familiar with EVs yet.
Mhm.
So I think it's still also a target group which is behind the curve on
Mhm.
EVs. So yeah, so having said that, I think that are a couple of, let's say, headwinds also for the Cybertruck.
Yeah, so if we look at the production and delivery, we see production of other models, which
Yeah.
includes Model S, Model X, and Cybertruck,
Yeah.
being on 30,400 for production. So significantly more production than deliveries. So
Mhm.
can be that there's a ramp there, but I think it's it the it looks like if those numbers stay like this for the Model X, Model S, and Cybertruck, with 13,000 compared to 400,000 with the Model Y and the Model 3, looks like one big distraction. And of course, they already invested in the manufacturing lines, and it looks like the Model S and the Model X are sort of the guinea pigs together with the Cybertruck for sort of the whole R&D for
Mhm.
Tesla when it comes to their new product. So if we look at the latest investor deck with all the new technologies that has been implemented in the Cybertruck, we see that those new technologies will be levered in the car. So, for example, steer by wire, this whole wiring system within the car. But it surprised me that the sales are low. So it would be great to get a little bit of more feel on that. Also, the Model S and the Model X has been refreshed
Yeah.
this quarter.
Yeah.
I'm a Model S Plaid driver myself, so I've got the first generation Plaid. But what I've been reading so far is that it's not a super significant increase that has been taken place there. And also, interesting thing is that Tesla basically also lost their records to Xiaomi with their performance model on Nuremberg, etc. So the Plaid, the X, being sort of top of the food chain cars within that electric segment. It's still a lot of value for money what you get, but if you compare the value for money that the Model Y has, it's insane. The Model Y has so much value for money. So it looks like Tesla is even doubling down more on their best sellers, also with rolling out of the capabilities of the Robotaxi there, which makes a lot of sense because the affordability will be much better if they can focus on a few models. The only thing is, me as a Tesla brand enthusiast and car enthusiast, I like Tesla being top of the food chain, also with their performance and everything that they have with the car. So everybody's still waiting for the Roadster. It should be unveiled last year.
Mhm.
And it's not a car that is significant for the top line of Tesla. But I think it's a car that can be significant for sort of showing the capabilities of Tesla. Where they're good at.
And the brand value as well, right? I mean,
Sorry.
and the brand value as well. So what you've seen with other brands like Ferrari and Lamborghini is they were very, very exclusive hypercars, and then they went to
Yeah.
supercars. So they went down the food chain, so to speak, just to get a broader audience. And now they sell SUVs. So there were some pictures in the last week about a shorter and a smaller model. It looked like let's say cramped Model Y. People are not sure if it's a five door or a three door, including the trunk. So it's something that also excites because they have been talking in the last couple of, I think, the last two quarterly earnings presentations. They talked about a lower cost vehicle coming in as well. So we've been anticipating that, and it was always Q2 and first half of 2025 that production would start. So people are now saying like, "Hey, he didn't follow on his promise. Elon is late again." But it might be the case that they already started production, let's say end of June, and that there is a new vehicle presentation that will be coming shortly. What are your thoughts on it, Damian?
I did not got the full question, but I think I heard a big part of it. It's an interesting time for Tesla. So the cost of goods sold, the driving down of the goods sold, the cost of goods sold is going to be a very interesting one, because it can easily be that the Model Y is going to be the affordable model. So they just stick to the Model Y, double down on all the capabilities that they have there. Because if you think about, let's say, Robotaxi first approach, let's assume that that's the future that Tesla is aiming for. I'm a dog sitter this week, so also the dogs of my how do you say, parents of my girlfriend are here, so it's a bit of a dog hostel. Besides of Tesla enthusiast, I'm also a dog enthusiast. So let's reveal that. And the dogs are very enthusiastic themselves as well, so that's a good thing. No, but let's assume Tesla takes a Robotaxi Cybercab first approach in the coming years, which is reasonable to think about. And I've been thinking about Robotaxis, of course, for a lot of time, and a lot of moments during that week, during that launch. So everybody knows about the utility of a Robotaxi being way higher than a normal car. So let's say you're owner of a Model Y, and currently you drive, let's say, 1 hour, 2 hours a day at max, right? So you go to your work, you use it for your daily commute. So by having that, using that car for your daily commute, you only use it, let's say, for 1/10 or 1/20 of the time that you can have. So Elon conservatively always said, well, the utility of the car will go up with 5 to 10%, or let's say a 5 to 10x. And so the utility of that car will go up with 5 to 10x. But I think a 10 to 20x is even more realistically if a car can just drive around 24/7, right? So that's a big increase in car. So another way to think about it, for every Robotaxi that comes on the road, and every Robotaxi that is being added to that network, there are 10 basically Model Ys being sold, because it makes a 10x more profit by being a Robotaxi, because the margin, let's make a calculation on, for example, the sales of a Model Y. Tesla makes probably 10 to 15,000 on each sale, and that's what they're now making is sort of on continuous basis. So that is sort of for every car that you sell, you're actually selling 10 cars. Well, that gives a good perspective on how the growth of Tesla will be in the coming months and years. Because profitability just skyrockets when the Robotaxis are being added. Mm-hmm. And Tesla, with their Robotaxi first approach, can of course make the cars way cheaper. Mm-hmm. Because right now performance is a very important metric, right? You want the car to be fast, you want your car to drive for longer periods. But if you think about what would be important for a Robotaxi, then performance is not so important, because you don't want your Robotaxi to go from 1 to 60 miles an hour, let's say, in 2.x seconds or in 3 seconds, because that will be a bit stressful experience what you then have. So, bringing that down to, let's say, 0 to 60 in 5 seconds or 6 seconds, that is already a huge battery saver. Then optimizing it for fast charging, so having a slightly smaller battery pack but being able to charge a little bit faster can also be something that is very important for Robotaxi, because in between it can go to a charging pad and just charge itself for 5 or 10 minutes, and then go to the next to really reduce the downtime of that car. So that opens a lot of that opens a whole new window of opportunity to lower down cost of a vehicle. And also, you want the car to be as dummy proof as possible, so very low maintenance. So the whole luxurious feel that you want to have in a car when it's your own isn't that important anymore. You just want to go from A to B for short rides. So yeah, my take will be that a Model Y optimized for Robotaxi and affordability for let's say smaller commute. And with the rollout of the Robotaxi, you saw also the whole Tesla team monitoring the whole situation, and it was great to see all their dashboarding, etc., to see what kind of data they could get from that fleet. And this was only the data that they showed for the whole team. So this is like the core KPIs that they have, and it was already so detailed. And if you think about it, the amount of data that this whole Tesla team is collecting with those robotaxis, they can exactly predict what the customer will want and need, and where they want to have it and when. So that gives it a huge advantage.
Yeah.
So
I think Uber already does that,
the
right?
thing I will look at most at the earnings will be the cost of goods sold, because that's the best predictor of sort of that more affordable models coming online as well.
Yeah, I think on the data part, so Uber is already doing that as well. So I'm not like maybe they're more advanced because they know how to deal with data. But on the cost of goods sold side, I think the most important there is to see for the new model and the Robotaxi itself what the cost of goods sold will be. Because the Model Y, I think, will be used now for the rollout and also in other cities if they do it before the end of the year. But the ultimate scaling will be with the Robotaxis or the Cybercabs that they
Cybercab, yeah.
presented last year. So those cost of goods sold will be the determining factor in what the cost per mile will be.
Yeah. So yeah, that is that's an interesting thing. So yeah, the challenge with looking at Tesla as an investor right now is probably that there's so much development now going on, where the first proof points are visible. So, for example, Tesla Energy is doing great. So that was one of the big surprises in one of the in let's say 2 quarters, in Q4 and Q1. Really outstanding growth there. But they're also ramping up factories with Tesla Energy. And one way to look at the sale of 10 gigawatt being deployed, that's about the equivalent of 200,000 to 400,000 Model Ys that are being produced, especially when you look at the profit. But it's still very unpredictable for investors to see, okay, how is this growth going to extrapolate? You heard a lot about potential competitors in China that are also selling batteries. So it's very difficult for investors to form a sort of proper opinion on how to scale this. Also, the big beautiful bill is not very favorable for solar and energy storage. So that's probably one of the big discussions that Elon and Donald had some turmoil on. But the great thing is that so many developments are sort of now unfolding, from Tesla Semi to sort of affordable Model Ys and of course Optimus and FSD. Really the patient investors can be really rewarded when they just simply sit on their butt and wait till everything is being deployed. So I would say, like, from now on, there is not so much downside in the stock. It of course can go down. You know, every stock can go down, but it looks like all the biggest risk factors, so to say, are already priced in, and now it's just waiting till Robotaxi will be deployed. It's more clear when the energy factories will be online. Semi-truck is, of course, something that can materialize in the coming year. And then, as a sort of big kicker, that's the whole Robotaxi network and Optimus that we still have. So, in that sense, nothing changed over the last half year. But even for patient people, it's sometimes challenging to just stay calm in the environment that is at hand.
Yeah. Well, basically, the stock didn't go anywhere in the last 5 years, right? So I think 5 years ago, it was clear Cybertruck was coming. Was announced back then, 2019, I guess.
Yeah.
The Roadster was announced. FSD was announced to be around the corner in a year, and I know we're more close by right now. But because all those things didn't materialize yet, same for the semi. I don't think that I think the stock actually went nowhere because of it. And in the meantime, we have some macro things coming up as well. But the question now is really on FSD, because in my opinion, even with a very successful outroll of semi, it will not contribute enough to say this price to earnings ratio of like 170 times is correct, as a valuation point. So it really needs to show FSD coming to full fruition, being something that scales very quickly. And I think that's the real case. So the real case is like, all right, did we solve FSD and can we really get Robotaxi out there? Which there is still, in my opinion, a risk that we need a bit more time, and scaling will be slow. So maybe the scaling goes so slow, like with Waymo, it took years. Right now with Tesla, it takes weeks for 10 cars to become, let's say, 30. So, and financial analysts, I know how they work. They work on a linear basis. So, and this will be an S curve. So now they're testing on all kinds of stuff. And once the hardware is there, the software is there, and they know how to scale, let's say globally, because they think in big TAMs and big projects and big bets, basically. I think then is when you will see an acceleration, but we're still waiting for that point. In my opinion, taking on the point of the Robotaxi, I think the scaling itself went in my opinion as planned so far. So we knew there would only be a couple of cars, and Elon already said during one of the earnings calls, like it will seem like a small step, but in actual in let's say the step that we're actually making, it's pretty big. But the scaling will be telling, and I'm also very much looking forward to the earnings call next week, I think it is, or in 2 weeks. There's a couple of things I'm really excited to hear more about, which is Elon's comp package, his view on this new political party, and his involvement with Tesla. Because I was happy that he came back to Tesla, but now he has different stuff to do. And I'm also looking forward to hear more about the models and when it's actually something that comes to fruition.
Yeah, and if they can say like we deployed 250 robotaxis successfully, that will be already quite big of a breakthrough / bombshell that we can wait for. I don't know the numbers. Kees have been tracking it quite diligently, and he came to the conclusion that it was about 50. But there was a whole parking lot of robotaxis ready to be deployed, and probably they will also deploy more before the earnings call to get a little bit more, sort of good news there. So that's realistic, and I think it's 250 would be already like a giant fleet that you then have, operationally, and it would also be good for them to present a little bit what the pricing will be, and to just clarify a little bit more about what their earnings capacity and all that will be per Robotaxi, because I think when that comes out, and we made a lot of calculations and assumptions, of course, already on this.
Yeah.
But if it's €300, $300, $400, that will be already so much revenue per car, and then the numbers will rapidly become very ridiculous. So that's a thing to pay attention to.
Yeah.
What's your before we go into those earnings call will be around the corner. What's your thoughts on the America party, Kenny?
You're asking a guy who's not really involved in politics and doesn't like politics at all. So to give my frank answer, and my first response was I don't like it. I think Elon has much more added value in bringing technology to the world. But I also know he's a kind of guy who looks at things pragmatic. So I think he looks at it very black and white. So he's like, either we fix this deficit or we don't. And if we don't fix it, we have a problem. America won't exist, and his companies are basically dying. So he's like, if something gets in my way, I solve it. So he tries to solve it in the most pragmatic and efficient way, and he tried it with Donald. And he knows the Democrats are not doing it. So now he's like, all right, I had two horses. I tried them both, and both are not gonna win this race. So I'll build my own horse. That's how I look at it. And in the long run, like it might actually be very very good. If there will be a party in the U.S. Who will have, let's say, a controlling vote, and he knows a lot. We still know from the evening of the election night. He just knew a couple of hours before everyone knew. He was like, yeah, this race is done. Donald has won. I'm going home. I'm going to get to work. So he knows where he needs to get the data from to be very precise in who he needs to win. So like he might pull it off, and then let's say he does pull it off in 3 years, and he can actually decide on or have a big say in what the country is doing, and what might be new legislation or legislation that goes away, etc. In the long run, it might be actually that's very very beneficial, because I think he is a person who can accelerate quite a bit. The only downfall I see is either or a couple of downfalls. So I think he's even more in the crosshairs than that he actually was. So more people will be against him. That will be bad for his companies. It will be bad for his, let's say, health. He might be attacked or whatever. And I also think that politics is not something that Elon is very strong at, because he's not a very political guy. Everything he does is like just very upfront, very straightforward. What he thinks and what he does and what he says, all lines. But that's not how politics work. So I'm a little bit reluctant there. So we have to see how it plays out. I think the stock market was pretty like tense on it, and it went down, but I'm not sure it's going to pressure a lot on the numbers. It might be because if people really start hating him more, and from both sides, like the Democrats and the Republicans, it can hit the numbers again. And if there's like pushback from the current administration on Robotaxi rollout, like those kind of things can really hurt the business on the short period of time. So in the next year or the next couple of years. But in the long run, it can be a really big paying bet, but it might mean that there's more pressure in the short run.
Yep. Yeah, he's trying to pinpoint a very precise role. So he wants a couple of seats in the Senate, and to just have enough votes to influence sort of the bigger topics. But I think the real thing is that it became obviously clear that we're not talking about Democrats or Republicans, but we're talking about a uniparty where just veterans, political veterans, are sort of dictating those terms, and they know how to pass legislation. They know who to influence. They know what kind of judges they need to influence there. So it's a cynical view would say it's a rotten system. The more sort of favorable look at it is just an outdated system. So, or let's say a system that is very difficult to update. So it's too ingrained. Too many things are just as the way it is, and just the nature of the beast is that is just spends more and more because it grows bigger and bigger, so it needs to do more to maintain just their proper functions. I've been tracking Doge also lately to see if there's something going on there, because Doge was something that was very popular. People tend to forget things also very fast, but Doge was very, very popular along many yeah, American citizens. So a lot of people really liked what Doge was doing and outing all that sort of corruption and fraud, but also just the waste in simple, credit cards that were being used. That sort of forcing function was very positive. And Doge is still working. So Doge is still doing some savings. So they're currently at 190 billion, which is in the grand scheme of things not a very big thing, but it's still 1,100 euros per taxpayer. And Donald is probably very much geared towards sort of popularity, because the way sort of the bill is being structured is people get a lot of tax savings, so people get a lot of savings, but the government spend will go up quite aggressively, which is another form of taxation in the end for citizens, right? So
Yeah.
that's a sort of a paradox in the bill, and unless just the government will start spending less and less, people will actually have not don't keep more money in the pocket. So for many citizens, it looks like they keep money in the pocket, but the cost of products and services will skyrocket because of these kind of bills that are being passed.
Yeah.
By
Basically,
simply
you're
by
devaluing the
inflation.
dollar.
Huh?
You're
Yeah,
devaluing the dollar.
devaluing the dollar, inflation hits, and that's just a thing that in the end will keep things the same. And the sort of the people in defense for this big beautiful bill will say, well, this will give the opportunity to outgrow us out of the debt. But it's a bit naive to think Elon doesn't did his math on this one. I think he did his math very well, and he knows very much about the spending, of course, that is going on. And his vision is more, well, we should go to a 2 or 3 trillion spend a year, and have a surplus, because that keeps as much money as possible in the pockets of citizens, and that's just simply not going to happen with this thing. So yeah, curious how they will go, but it's interesting to see that Doge is still in operation. So apparently they're still doing the work, and Elon also brought in a lot of high-profile people, at least very smart people in Doge. So it's a bit, yeah, probably things are moving also so fast that I sometimes have the feeling that sort of the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing anymore. So on the one hand, Doge is still working. On the other hand, they're just spending a lot of money. And Doge is also not something that will suddenly be stopped, because it's being pushed quite hard in the beginning of the thing. So probably Trump also don't know what to do with it, because Doge is very popular amongst people. So if Donald will say, like, yeah, we will stop with Doge, that will be a very stupid thing, right? So yeah, it feels it's very chaotic. It's already been chaotic since the start. But it looks like it's still sort of a filter, probably, where everybody needs to go through to see what's really going on, and to really see, okay, this is not Democrats, Republicans, it's one uniparty, and that can actually become a very unifying thing a couple of months from now. So, for example, Elon is right now pushing this whole Epstein reveal, that nobody has been arrested for that. And that's obviously one of the things that many citizens are caring deeply about. And also something where the administration of Trump has been vocal about, that they will release the client list. And now there's no client list. So that's
No. It was on the Pam Bondi, the lady. She said, like, yeah, it's on my desk to review this list, and now there's no list. So yeah,
there's no list. And so we have tens of thousands of videos of footage of people being that, but apparently it's being buried. But that looks a lot like the left hand doesn't know what the right is doing at this moment.
yeah,
So it's very a lot of contradictions. So it looks like that just there's just a lot going on, and also in sort of those times of chaos, all the players that have their positions and money involved will double down on their positions.
Yeah.
And it's also not going to be a very a smooth ride to clean this thing up. So
Oh.
the question you can ask yourself is like, can a system update itself from within? Reality is it's always very difficult to do that. It most of the time need a sort of force outside of it to actually make that happen. Normally that's a war, so a country being attacked and being bankrupted can be an event,
Yeah, I
but
think
otherwise it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I think Ray Dalio has a good book around it. I think it's changing the world order.
Yeah,
I'm not really fond of Ray Dalio because he can be quite all over the place when he speaks. Nevertheless, I've read this book, and I think it, like, looking back, he just looks at like the bigger cycles. You know, you have always cycles
yeah,
during the year, but also in economic powers. So we come from Holland, and Holland was the economic power in the 1700s. And he investigated what went wrong. You know, so and what went wrong is we were the innovators. We had the best ships. We were dominant. We traded a lot. We actually invented the stock market, like all those things, you know, in those years. We were very innovative. But then at a certain point, we were the dominant force and we had the dominant currency. But we started to lend a lot and we didn't build anymore.
yeah,
So we ended up in a situation where the Americas are now going towards, which is a lot of debt, no production, and then
yeah.
at a certain point, nobody wants to lend you anymore because you're not
You're not
building, you're not
producing.
earning. No, you're not producing. So that can also happen with the US, you know. So um, it's something they have to reverse or come out of, and there might be multiple ways, but there is a way where you would say that if you look at your own family and you're overspending and you have a lot of debt, then what you do is you stop spending more. You start spending less, and you try to make as much income as you can to pay off your debt. And that's basically what they wanted to do with Doge, right? Like cut the spending, and introduce, let's say, more production in the US, and then get the deficit down. But now
Yeah,
they get the deficit up. So
yeah.
yeah,
It's but yeah, on the other hand, it's sort of sad to see that there's no common ground that can be found. There was a lot of enthusiasm and I think positive spirit, with this whole administration taking over, but it grinded to a halt sort of very fast, and I think that says more about sort of the nature of the beast. So the whole, how things are being structured and how you can pass legislation, and basically this whole system has been securing itself for the last 50 years. So it's you cannot simply overhaul things, and that's on the one hand a good thing because otherwise every 4 years it would be a giant mess. But on the other hand, it really stifles innovation and basically common sense at this point, because the spending is just way too high. But I hope hope is always a bad thing. Hope is for the hopeless, as we say. But I really hope that that they can sort of go back to work again and just trying to fix things, and let the common sense really return.
yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons I was excited Elon stepping back from the government. Trump mentioned he was wearing thin, and I think he has a big point there. I mean, he's doing the Neuralink stuff, Boring Company. He's having SpaceX, which is actually going really, really quickly, and they have this window next year with Tesla, with Robotaxi and Optimus. There's a lot of things going on. Then he has
Grok 4,
sorry.
Grok 4 being rolled out
Yeah,
coming
Grok
week.
4, XAI, X, the former Twitter platform. So, and then he's also like, yeah, I'm gonna do the side quests and start up Doge and stuff, you know. And still, like, I think he can do quite a lot, but there are only 24 hours in a day, and somewhere is the end of the day, an end of the width that I think he can manage. So I was really happy that he was like, yeah, I need to just do this whole AI thing is so important. I need to focus on that. But he has come back on it in the last week. So I'm sad on it in the short run, but in the long run, we don't know how this is going to play out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, let's see how that goes. But at least never dull moment. So that's
moments. Yeah, that's why also we have this podcast, and we miss it after two missing episodes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Elon always says, the most entertaining outcome is the most likely. So if that's your life vision, then every day is a big surprise, right? So
yeah, exactly. All right, so
I use that as a mantra in the morning sometimes. Like, the most entertaining outcome is the most likely. Well, try to say that before your day starts.
it makes you live a little bit. Also,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think Trump mentioned like, we might have to deport Elon. We don't give that, and then he's like, yeah, the most exciting is the most likely. So
Yeah. Well, good to catch up.
definitely,
Yeah, and let's very curious how Kees is doing, and Florian, and we will be back with us for ACP.
yes, and see you all next week. Thanks, Dame.
Take care.
Cheers.